that was world religions. I'm going to do 60 seconds on world non-religions. I come across a lot of atheists, and I think Ben calls them like professional atheists. There's some out now, I mean, they're writing books, and they're much more in your face than they used to be. I try to divide them into two camps. I usually use diagnostic questions, like if they come on my blog. If somebody's really searching for the truth, man, I got a lot of time for that. I mean, if they really want to know, I will spend a lot of time. But a lot of them, they've got what I call the big book of atheist soundbites. And they'll come up with, well, here's this objection, and that objection, well, here's a contradiction. And no matter how many you explain and how thoroughly you explain them, they'll just come back with more. And I'm like, it's pearl holding, dust shaking time. You know, I'm not under obligation to spend the rest of my life answering their next 1,000 questions. So I'll just kind of politely, I did this the other day, I had a nice conversation with a guy, but I'm like, okay, this is done, you know, I'm not going to spend more time on this. Because I try to point out to them, I drove an atheist nuts last week because he's, again, used to the Christians with the blind faith thing, and I pointed to historical evidence, and he was like, bah, you know, he's like, I've never heard that before. I'm like, it's pretty basic stuff. This is what the original Christians believed, and like, historical facts. Jesus really lived, he really died. So I just compare that, I'm like, what do you think, I'm irrational because I'm religious? I look at these facts, and I drew a conclusion. I guess it's possible I'm wrong, but I have reasons for what I believe. I could not be an atheist. I heard a great one, my favorite call-in show that I listened to. This guy asked me, he said, well, is there anything that can make you walk away from God? And he thought about it. I said, well, no, I really couldn't. At this point, he says, I know too much. I said, I could be mad at God. I could stop listening to him and talking to him for a while, but I couldn't walk away. He said, I know too much. He said, I can't be an atheist. And he rattled several of these things off. He says, if I'm going to be an atheist, I have to all of a sudden believe that something came from nothing. I mean, science proves the Big Bang. You don't get something out of nothing. If there's nothing and no God, then there'll still be nothing. It's like, it's so basic. And the scientists will come back, or the atheists will come back, oh, well, we'll figure out what that was. I'm like, well, let me know when you're done. But I read Genesis 1:1, and I already know. They believe that life came from non-life, that there's just these chemicals, and then somehow they started living. Hey, Ed, got any evidence for that? Well, no, but we're going to find it. Well, then they look at the Darwinian evolution, and they think, now it came to life, but then the little cells managed to live and split, and they became elephants and butterflies or caterpillars / butterflies, human beings, etc., etc. I'm like, okay, even if that was true, you still haven't proven that there's no God. I mean, there's still evidence for us. They believe that the unbelievable, exquisite fine-tuning of the universe came from chaos. You know, I know very few explosions that get things more organized. They believe that all our consciousness, all our conscious thoughts, are just chemical reactions. And I don't know how you do a chemistry experiment that gets conscious thoughts. And they believe that morality comes from nothing. I mean, you know, they try to rationalize where morality came from, but they do a bad job of it. So I just say, I couldn't be an atheist if I wanted to. I would have to work really hard, and I still couldn't. I just could not accept it. So I just step back and say, okay, sometimes we need to doubt our doubts. Because sometimes I'll see someone Christian, I'm like, did I really sign up for the right thing? And then I think back, well, what do I know? Oh, okay, yeah, this is it. But we don't doubt our doubts enough, because it's like, well, if it wasn't Christianity, what else looks plausible out there to you? Maybe there is one, but there doesn't to me. The more I learn, the more I'm like, yes. So in summary, part of it is just being obedient. God has given us a lot of opportunities. We can't lose. He has given us salvation. He has, He's guaranteed it. He is not going to let us fall out of His hands. So we can be confident that we go out there. If we make a mistake, He'll make up for it. You know, I'm not saying we shouldn't try, but it's like if we just get out there and do things, we win. We just want to share the truth of Jesus in love wherever we get a chance. There's a thing called faith flags. Sometimes I'll throw those up at work. That's how I got to know this really nice Muslim gentleman. He was talking politics, and I kind of threw up something, I don't remember what it was, like about church or this or that. And he kind of bit on that and started talking a little bit, and he might have ignored it. We would have just talked about, you know, news and weather or whatever, but he didn't. So then we got in this great conversation, and we've had some really nice dialogues, and who knows where it goes. So when in doubt, just kind of throw something out there and just see if people are interested in talking. If you're ready to tell your story, you know, learn about their perspective. Even if you think you know their religion, ask them questions. Hey, my understanding is that Muslims think this. Is that, you know, do I have that right? It's very charitable, and they'll realize you're taking them seriously and respecting them. Remember the 7 most important words? I don't know, but I'll find out. Pray for them. Ask questions. Sometimes instead of, even if you know the answer, instead of shooting the answer at them, ask questions and get them to come up with themselves. And when in doubt, share the gospel. You're ambassadors. I know a lot of you. You're great ambassadors. I just want to encourage you to keep thinking in those terms. You know, we may, like I always say, we may have 50 more minutes or 50 more years, but you know, this is our time for God's kingdom to be doing things today on His behalf, and we should be honored to do that. And I always like to remind people, who's in charge? Like the beginning of your Emmaus walk. God's in charge. No pressure, people. That's what I used to, you feel that sometimes. It's like, oh no, what if I don't say the right thing? Well, yeah, I want to try to say the right thing, but it's like, like I say, I don't think anybody's going to hell because of my mistake. I hope not. But Jesus said, no one comes to me unless the Father who sent him draws me, and I will raise him up at the last day. But we just get to be part of that. It's kind of like betting on the Super Bowl. If you could today bet on the Super Bowl, who would you bet on? I recommend Pittsburgh because they won. God won. I read the end of the book. He wins. We should put all our chips on him. A couple of resources for you, and I'll have Nancy send this out as well. Feel free to email me if you have questions. There's my blog if you'd like to visit that. I write on a lot of topics. There's so many great links out there, but I just distill it down to 2. Stand to Reason is my all-time favorite ministry. They have a great podcast if you're into the iPod thing. They have lots and lots of great articles on how to think and reason. It's not just facts, facts, facts. It's a lot of the how do you navigate through conversations, how do you talk to people, reason with them, treat them with respect, be a good ambassador. So it's a nice mix. If you just want some raw facts, like I know a Mormon and I want to know more about Mormonism, this calm.org has got tons of great stuff, very easy to navigate. Just look down the left column, it's like Mormonism, Islam, whatever. It'll tell you lots and lots of things. Like it's not like hundreds of pages, but it's nice, crisp question and answer. A lot of the basic things you'd come across. So, and again, I'll send these out. I encourage you to try. I hope I didn't go wildly over whatever our time was. But thank you very much for your attention. Any questions?
So, is there absolute truth? I guess that's in part. When you, I can see you have issues with those. Is there absolute truths in the Bible?
Let me step back on that. Because were you saying about what Chap's comment was when he was joking about what Ben said?
Yeah.
For those of you who are praised, there's a fancy phrase he used, but it's basically, do you think three things are true? And when I was teaching the high school kids for a few weeks, it's one of the things I tried to drill into them, and they got it. I said, what is truth? Pontius Pilate, what is truth? People try to dismiss that. It's like, well, truth is this or that, or there's no truth. And I just point out, this is not that complicated, people. 5-year-olds get this. Truth is that which corresponds to reality. That's a chair, that's a computer. Now, just because we come over into religious concepts, I think there's real life truth. Now, some things are opinion. It's like, you like vanilla, I like strawberry. Well, those are 2 true statements. You like vanilla, that's true. So there can be different opinions on what you may have a preference for, but when it comes to, did Jesus die on the cross? Well, he did or he didn't. So the question is, well, are we persuaded that he died on the cross and rose again? Well, if we are, then I highly recommend following him and trusting in him for your salvation. So that's, again, when I talk about truth, that's what I mean. It's not just about opinions, but the Bible teaches truth. I mean, that's, when in doubt, we want to look at, is there a specific example though?
No, I could just see a lot of your argument, or a lot of discussions being, is there absolute truth? Because, allowing for other gods to exist and everything else really kind of revolves to me in some sense around that question, is there absolute truth?
Well, I think that's how people get out of it. They kind of suspend reality and say, oh yeah, I guess these these could all be true at the same time. But then that's why I try to just give some specific examples. Well, can you really have reincarnation and die and face judgment and annihilation all at the same time? I mean, unless you're making up a new religion that says, well, when you die, there's some random generator that and you laugh. But I mean, I'm not trying to mock these people, but I think it's scary how many of these kids just in the last 10, 20 years, and adults too, have lost the concept. The truth is that which corresponds to reality. It's like they've heard it so many times, well, that's just your truth or whatever. It's like, no, it might be just my opinion, but we only get one set of facts. We debate what's true.
And I think these absolute truths, this is not just even for other religions. It's within our own Christian religion that we will find. I mean, I think Jeff preaches on it and talks about some of these seminaries, and we've done the seminar group, how they take, even with supposedly Christians and get away from the truth. So.